Hello, my friends. Today I want to start with yet another statement from Putin that clearly shows that they have no intention of ending the war. The ongoing negotiations are just a smokescreen meant to prevent Trump from imposing new sanctions on Russia, and apparently that tactic worked. Trump has indeed refused to introduce sanctions. This time, Putin said their plans remain unchanged and they will continue creating a buffer zone along the border.
Let me repeat, this concerns the Kursk, Bryansk, and Belgorod regions, all of which have suffered and continue to suffer from shelling. The targets the enemy chooses are usually not of military value. They're hitting civilian sites, homes, people, and today's events only confirm that. During drone raids and sabotage reconnaissance group operations, they're going after civilian vehicles, including ambulances and farm equipment. Women and children are being killed or injured.
The Ukrainian side has responded to this statement. This isn't the first time Putin has mentioned a buffer zone. He said the same thing a year ago but failed to follow through, even though he tried to use it as a scare tactic. Now it's just a demonstration that he has no intention of stopping the fire. But considering that just days ago, the Ukrainian side reported a buildup of Russian forces near the Kharkiv border, and the governor of the Russia's Kursk region publicly stated that Sumy should be under Russian control to create a buffer zone for the Kursk region. There is a real chance we could see increased military activity soon, either in the Kharkiv or Sumy direction. For now, it's still an open question, but all these statements are clearly not accidental. Also, it seems like the Russians have plenty of time on their hands. Today, it was revealed that the second round of peace talks will almost likely happen in mid June at the Vatican. According to WSJ, peace negotiations at the Vatican to end the war in Ukraine may begin in mid June. During a call with European leaders on Sunday, the US president said he would send Secretary of State Marco Rubio and White House Special Envoy Keith Kellogg to attend. However, by Monday, after speaking with Putin, he no longer confirmed the US role in the talks. The point is, mid June is just 3 weeks away, and at this pace, these negotiations could drag on for years. We've already seen that the first round of talks produced no real results, not even an agreement on prisoner exchanges. Ukraine has stated that they will not proceed with the second round of talks until a prisoner exchange takes place. Andriy Yermak made it clear that the second round of negotiations between Ukraine and Russia will only take place after a prisoner swap in a 1000 for 1000 format. Our position is clear. The first step must be an agreement on a prisoner exchange 1000 for 1000. The second step is choosing the location for the next meeting with Russian representatives, said the head of the office of the president after a conversation with leaders from Northern and Baltic Europe. But the problem is, Peskov claimed that it's Ukraine who is stalling the prisoner exchange process, allegedly not submitting its list. Russia has handed over a list of names for a 1000 for 1000 exchange, said Peskov. We really did submit our list. We haven't yet received a reciprocal list from Kyiv. We're awaiting, he added. As always, it's a vicious circle. Ukraine insists it has sent the list, while Peskov claims they haven't received anything. This once again shows that with this kind of approach and these kinds of diplomats, the negotiations are going to drag on for a very long time. And honestly, it's unclear if we'll see any results at all, if even a basic prisoner exchange could happen easily. Friends, share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Also, today the situation on the front lines is very grim. General Zaluzhny made a strong statement saying that Ukraine will not return to its previous borders and Russia still has plenty of resources to continue the war.
Let's talk about war and security in general. I hope that no one in this room still believes in some miracle, some white swan that will bring peace to Ukraine, restore the 1991 or even 2022 borders, and suddenly everything will be great. Personally, I believe that as long as the enemy has the resources, forces, and means to strike our territory and carry out offensive operations, they will continue doing so. Russia's ability to wage war depends entirely on its access to the resources. It needs to keep going.
So, overall, friends, leave your thoughts in the comments. And now, let's move on to the front lines. We'll start with Chasiv Yar. Today, attacks are ongoing in the central part of the city. The Russians are storming the area around Pretechina, pushing toward Delivka and fighting near Druzhba. However, there are no significant changes in positions there yet. In the Kostiantynivka direction, the Russians are trying to break through toward Yablunivka, aiming to close the encirclement. They're also assaulting the villages of Zorya and Zabalka. According to Ukrainian soldiers, they simply don't have enough forces to hold the defense. The Russians are moving into a deep phase of the offensive, knowing full well that we don't have enough troops here. They are literally slicing through the front and trying to eventually get behind Kostiantynivka. They are acting in a coordinated, deliberate way, throwing in all available forces to crush our defense. Call it what you want, betrayal or just a brutal lack of manpower, but that's the reality. The Russians have now approached Poltavka. If we lose three key points, they'll gain control over the entire area up to the Kazony Torets River, cutting off our ability to move reserves. And as we all know, we don't have enough reserves to stop a full scale push. They're actively probing for weak spots in our lines and will attack wherever our presence is weakest. Frankly, that's a disaster. If we shift reinforcements to this area, another direction will become vulnerable. Things are really bad here. This axis is on fire, and every single day the Russians make progress, little by little. As we can see, Ukrainian troops are now openly admitting that they are short on strength to maintain the defense. Every day, the Russians advance position by position, and if reserves are pulled from one sector, the front might collapse elsewhere. The situation is critical. In the Pokrovsk direction, the story is much the same. Ukrainian troops report that Russian forces are advancing in absurdly large numbers. The direction near Myrnograd continues to collapse. The Russians have identified weak spots and is pouring infantry into them in crazy numbers. That's why they are making progress. Malenivka is basically lost, while fighting still rages around Myrolubivka. There are only a few kilometers left to Novoekonomichne. At this pace, we could see battles for the village begin in a matter of weeks, though I hope I am wrong. Novoekonomichne is one of the key strongholds for the defense of the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration. The only line that's still holding without any loss of positions is Promeny-Balagan and everything west of Grodivka. The Marines secured that line last year and so far it's holding. The situation along this entire front is extremely difficult with no signs of improvement. So once again, friends, let me know what you think in the comments, because the Russians are pressing from every direction, and now we're seeing new advances dangerously close to Dnipropetrovsk region. This shows that the Russians are continuing their push to encircle Pokrovsk. Today they are trying to break through near Popiev Yar, assaulting Nova Poltavka, and their main goal here is to reach the village of Koptiva. From there, they could gain control over all the roads leading to Myrnograd and Pokrovsk. FPV drones already cover this entire zone, meaning logistics will deteriorate even further. That in turn will make the advance easier. So these movements, even if small on the map, have a major consequence for the frontline situation. Meanwhile, the Russians continue to assault Myrolюбівка, Промінь, Лисівка, Dachinske, and they're trying to break through near Kotline, Udachne, and Novosergiyevka. No major territorial changes have been confirmed in the last 24 hours, but the situation remains catastrophic even without new gains. In the Novopavlivka direction, Russian forces are storming Novomykolaiivka while battles are ongoing near Kotlarivka. Assaults continue on Troitske, Oleksiivka, Bogatyr, and Odradne, but again, there have been no significant advancements reported yet. Still, what's deeply alarming is that Russian forces are now getting dangerously close to Dnipropetrovsk region, and right now we don't know what their next steps are. If Putin decides that Donetsk and Luhansk need a buffer zone, they may soon try to push further into Dnipropetrovsk. So, as of now, it's hard to say what awaits us next. In the Velika Novosilka area, Russian forces are attacking the village of Vesele, pushing toward Shevchenko, and storming Vilne Pole, Zelene Pole, and Novopil. Shelling in this area remains relentless, but for now, Ukrainian forces are holding the line and no territorial changes have been recorded in the past 24 hours. In the Gulai Pole area, the Russians continue their activity, most likely to divert our forces from the main axes of attack. They are launching assaults near the villages of Vesele and Shalin Gulai Pole. However, again, no changes in the front line have occurred over the past day. In the Zaporizhia direction, Russian forces are storming Sherbaki, Stepove, and pushing toward Pavlivka. It's clear they're trying to extend the front line further in the direction of Zaporizhia. However, Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks, and so far no serious breakthrough has occurred. In the Kherson direction, the Russians are advancing on the islands in the Dnipro River and shelling the right bank. There is no official confirmation of Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups crossing to the right bank, despite Russian claims of an imminent large-scale offensive. As of now, no changes have been recorded in the past 24 hours. We are closely monitoring how the situation develops. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces are storming Bilohorivka and attempting to break through in the Serebryanka forest toward Yampil. However, no gains were recorded in the past 24 hours and the front line remains stable for now. In the Liman direction, attacks continue on Zelena Dolina, Ridko Dub, Novy Mir, Olgivka, and Druzhelyubivka. Despite high Russian activity, the front line remains unchanged, just like in previous days. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are assaulting Bohuslavka, Nova Krugliakivka, and attempting to advance toward Novosergiyevka. However, they haven't managed to break through, and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are attempting to stretch the northern flank above the city to enable a possible future encirclement. They are once again storming Malashapkivka and Kindrashivka. Apart from this, Russian activity remains low and there have been no changes along the front line in the past 24 hours. In the Dvorichna direction, Russian forces are attempting to push near Kamenka, but the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks and the front line remains unchanged. In the Kharkiv direction, Russian troops are not showing any significant activity for now, and the situation remains stable. Fighting continues for Vovchansk, but there have been no changes along the front line over the past 24 hours. In the Sumy and Kursk directions, the front line remains stable and Russian activity is minimal. Over the past 24 hours, there were 5 Russian assault attempts, all of which failed. Today, a Republican senator made a strong call for new sanctions against Russia, stating,
Right now, there's discussions between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States and Europe about how to end this war. Putin, in my view, is playing us all. President Trump called for a 30-day ceasefire. Ukraine said yes. Russia said no.
So when we're told, let's go for a ceasefire and see what happens, no. We've been through this before. We're not going down that road again. Macron, Starmer, von der Leyen, and other European figures who are now frantically demanding U.S. action against Russia and more sanctions. Their desperation is showing.
Требуют от Соединенных Штатов присоединиться к антироссийским действиям и нарастить количество санкций, это просто их выдает с головы.
So there was a call a couple of days ago between President Trump and Putin. The Russians now are supposed to submit a term sheet about what it takes to get a ceasefire. That's supposed to happen in a few days. They're talking about going to the Vatican and having direct negotiations. I'm all for all of that.
After speaking with Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump told European leaders that Putin is not ready for peace, believing that Russia is winning the war. This marks Trump's first agreement with Kyiv and European capitals on the matter. However, Trump refused to support new sanctions against Russia. A sanctions bill may still pass if it secures at least 67 votes in the Senate and a two-thirds majority in the House of Representatives.
We've given Russia plenty of opportunity to find an honorable and just end to this war. They are not interested, and they're not going to change until we up the ante. I hate it for the Russian people, but it is now time to increase the cost of this war to Putin. The sanction package that we have put together has 80 co-sponsors. Do you know how hard it is to get 80 senators to agree on anything? 80 of us, and the number is climbing, are ready to impose sanctions on Russia if he does not come to the table and earnestly seek peace, Putin. And these sanctions are geared toward China. There are tariffs in these sanctions on any nation that buys Russian oil and gas from the shadow fleet.
According to the International Energy Agency, China and India remain the main buyers of Russian oil.
and that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.